Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, a neighbor parked over 20 buses on my private property claiming that she has special rights. I ended up getting all of them towed. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the video. So for some context to this mess, I live in a rural town which gets a fair deal of tourism due to how quaint the town is. It is all fairly old-fashioned and has been used as the set for multiple period piece dramas, which creates even more tourism. So naturally there's a market for tour guides, something my neighbor decided to capitalize on. It was not much of an issue at first. She would simply gather some people at the front of her house and they'll walk around the town. It was quite sweet actually. The problem started when she wanted to make more money. Basically, she got one bus at first, touring it around. A lot of us disapproved of it. It was ugly and kind of ruined the vibe of the town. But it was one bus and she would run it perhaps 4 times a week and it was still relatively quiet. Then she began hiring people and getting more buses. The buses would run every day and the town was feeling more like a city with the amount of traffic they would create. But still, nothing illegal and certainly nothing we could do. However, one morning last month I woke up to find her business had grown way out of proportion, and the reason why I am saying this is because I have a large patch of land. I don't farm on most of it, just don't have the time, so a lot of it is empty field at the front of my house. I like it and I like feeling out of the way and in my own space. Said neighbor has much less land, just how she bought the place. So her buses usually live on the far right side of her house, where she has a small field. We had also never really spoken much, both of us keeping to ourselves. So as you can imagine, when I woke up one morning and saw 20 buses parked at the front of my house on my field, I was a little more than shocked. I did not want to jump to any conclusions, even though it was hard not to. I figured maybe some bus company had dropped them off at the wrong house, even though I was really hoping she had not actually ordered 20 more buses, hoping they had gotten the order wrong as well as the house number. So over I went to her house with no bad intentions, of course. I knocked on and a couple of minutes later, out she came, phones to her ears, speaking to someone about being a tour guide and what their background was. It sounded like a job interview to me. "Hi, just 1 second, she said and shut the door. I heard her speaking on the phone a little longer and then she came out again and said, "Hello, are you here for the 10 a.m. interview?" "No, I'm your neighbor," I replied, realizing the one thing that sadly was not a mistake was the amount of buses she must be expanding. "Oh, okay, what do you need?" she asked hesitantly. "It seems the new buses you have ordered were dropped off on my property," I replied, assuming she would immediately come rush out to see, get on the phone and have it sorted out. But no, that is not what happened at all. "Okay," she replied, as if I was wasting both of our times. "Could you move them off of my land?" I asked, even though it should have been a statement, one that didn't need to be spoken. "No, sorry." She didn't sound sorry at all though. "I was not really asking. You cannot park your buses on my private property," I replied, dumbfounded. "I own a tour guiding business," she said, as if that answered everything. "Yes, I'm well aware, but still, you cannot park there." "Oh, for goodness sake, do I have to spell it out?" she snapped. I was so lost. Why was she the one getting angry? Apparently, I have a tour guiding business, so I have special rights to certain laws. One of which being private property, so I can park there. "What? There's no way whatever you just said is true," I replied with a laugh. And she did not like that. "Excuse me? Don't laugh at me just because I'm successful. I will park my buses wherever I see fit. End of the story." She tried to slam the door in my face, but I caught it with my foot. "Listen, I'm sorry if I offended you, but you really don't have any right to park anything on my private property. I'm asking you kindly to please remove them." "Are you deaf?" "No, the city has given me special rights to use any land needed for my business as I generate a good income for the community." And then she really did slam the door, practically breaking my foot in the process. I limped back to my house, stunned and confused as to what to do. I started to question whether the city our town resides in really did give her special rights to park wherever, but surely that would not include private property, right? Can they even do that? Short answer, no, but you came for the longer answer. I got inside and called the non-emergency police line and knew that I would not be able to sort this for myself. I explained the situation and a few hours later some officers came by. They saw the buses and were in full agreement with me that she would not have the right to do this. Although they did say that they could not be 100% sure, but from what they know, it's certainly illegal to do this. Me and the two officers headed over to my neighbor's house and knocked again, and she once again answered while on the phone, but hung up once she saw the officers. "Hello, what can I do for you?" she asked, sickly sweet. "Hello ma'am, I've been informed that these are your buses. They will need to be moved off of the property of your neighbor," the officer stated, straight to business. I'm afraid I cannot do that. I have permission from the city," she replied, shrugging her shoulders. They spoke back and forth for the next few minutes, and she was adamant that she had proof of these rights, but when we asked for it, she said that without a warrant she had no reason to show it. The officers informed her that showing us the proof would obviously make things much less messy for her, but she insisted on doing things this way. It was kind of clear at this point that she did not have any proof and was, I guess, hoping that I would just take her word for it and not take this any further. The police also informed her that without any proof there was a risk of her being towed, but once again she chose to ignore this potential consequence and rolled her eyes. So I went home and got straight on the phone to a towing company. From my neighbor's house you cannot actually see my front lawn, so she did not have a single clue all this was going on until hours later when the very final few buses were towed away and she must have seen others driving down the road. "Stop this! What on earth is going on here?" she screamed at me, rounding the corner to my house. "Just towing away these buses that are parked on my private property," I shrugged, trying and failing to maintain my smirk. "You cannot just do that, you idiot! I have rights to park here! What is wrong with you?" she screamed at me, stomping her foot like a child. "I highly doubt these special rights exist, but if you would like to prove me wrong, we can take this to court." "Oh, I'll be taking you to court. Do you have any idea how much it will cost to get these out of impound? I will be suing you whatever the amount." "Okay," I said, walking away into my house. She banged on the door a few times, screaming more insults, but I ignored her, deciding to just wait for the hearing, which came 2 weeks later as it would be a fairly quick case to sort. Long story short, at the hearing, the judge asked for proof of these special rights my neighbor had apparently been granted, but of course she had no proof and even tried to suggest that it would be in the judge's favor to side with her as she has influence in the city. That little stunt didn't help her case, as together with having to pay the towing fees, she also had to pay a major fine for her shenanigans. She left the courtroom kicking and screaming, claiming that I was being unfair and that she had a business to run. Since this whole altercation, I have not had any more run-ins with her, so I think everything has been rightfully smoothed out. And the next one is titled, "I told my kid to punch the bully in school." And by the way, if you have enjoyed the stories until here, then please don't forget to like the video and maybe even post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support me. Thank you so much, and the next one starts like this. The actual F-up happened yesterday at the dinner table after school. The after effects of my F-up have me currently at the ER, getting my son checked out for anaphylactic shock. So yesterday, my kid came home and was obviously upset. So I asked him what was wrong. He is 8, so he still talks to me about this stuff. And he proceeds to tell me that at lunch, another kid in his class is bullying him about his peanut allergy, saying that he's faking his allergy and that he's gonna wipe some peanut butter on him to prove that he is faking it. My kid says to him that he is not faking and that he could die just from touching peanut butter. The other kid said that he didn't care and that he wanted him to die anyway. At this point, my kid said that he told the teacher and the lunchroom monitor, who both know about his allergy, and that they were able to intervene yesterday. I had a long talk with my kid about doing the right thing and telling the teacher and not letting this other kid make him lash out. Then we talked about the hard part. Now, I'm sure I'm gonna generate some hate with some people here with what I told him next, and that is fine. We are allowed to have differing opinions, but I'm not apologizing to anyone for teaching my kid to stand up and defend himself. After we talked about doing the right thing and doing everything you can to avoid a bad situation, I told him that sometimes you have to do the wrong thing to protect yourself, and that should always be the absolute last resort. When he asked what I meant, I told him that if that kid, as long as the bully is only taunting him with words, then he should always talk away, but if he ever did try to put peanut butter on you, then you hit him as hard as you can with the side of your hand in the throat. Kind of like a throat chop. Then you stop unless the bully keeps trying. Fast forward to this very afternoon, and I get a call from the principal of the school saying that my son assaulted another student and needed to be picked up. I asked what happened, and of course they won't talk about it over the phone, but I smiled a little bit because I already knew. I get to school and I see my kid sitting in the office, tears streaming down his face. So I walk in and the principal tries talking to me, but I blow right past her and ask my kid what happened. He says the bully had peanut butter on his fingers and he was threatening to wipe it on his face. Then my kid said that he did what I told him to do and hit the kid in the throat because he wiped peanut butter on his arm. I looked at his arm that was pretty swollen up and asked him if he was having trouble breathing. The kid said he was fine, just a little shaky. At this point, the principal interrupts with her, "Mr. So-and-so, we just cannot have kids hitting other children just because they had a little peanut butter wiped on them. Kids do this kind of thing. We are gonna have to suspend him for a few days." It's obvious to me that principal is clueless about the peanut allergy, so I cut her off and asked my kid if he told the bully to stop before he hit the other kid. He said yes, and I yelled at him several times that I'm allergic to peanut butter and told him to stop, and he just kept acting like he was gonna wipe it on me. Now the principal has a shocked look on her face. I asked to see the video from the cafeteria, and sure as hell, my kid can be seen and heard screaming and trying to back away from his bully. At the point where it looks like the bully grabs my kid's arm, my kids yell at the top of his little lungs, "I told you to stop!" Then he grabs the bully by the arm, pulls him towards himself and executes the best clothesline I've ever seen anyone do and floors this kid. Then my kid sits down and starts crying in the middle of the cafeteria. At this point I tell the principal that if my kid is not allowed back at school tomorrow, I was consulting with a lawyer about the attempted murder of my son. I also said that assuming he didn't have any other ill effects from this, I would be fine not pressing charges against the school and the bully, since it looks like he may have already learned his lesson. Since I did not get a response and it's been about half an hour since the peanut butter was wiped on my kid's arm, I picked him up and left to take him to the ER to get checked out. About 10 minutes ago, I got a phone call from the school board superintendent saying that the school board has decided to let my kid come back to school tomorrow. Edit number 1, the kid has a clean bill of health from the hospital, the swelling is starting to go down after some epinephrine. Edit number 2, the kid got cookies and cream ice cream. Edit number 3, I've been invited to a meeting with the school board Thursday afternoon, will update afterwards. Another update, I just left the meeting, which was not with the school board as I was led to believe on the phone, it was actually with the principal and a legal representative from the school board. I had a lawyer with me and prior to this meeting, and we discussed what I wanted out of this meeting. My main concerns were, number 1, making sure that there was a procedure in place to keep allergens away from my kid, and number 2, ensuring that this child has no ability to assault my kid again. I also wanted to know how it was that the principal wasn't informed or aware of my child's allergy prior to trying to tell me that he was gonna be suspended. Lawyers talked legal stuff for a little bit while I listened, and principal listened too. I also wanted to know how it was that the principal wasn't informed or aware of my child's allergy prior to trying to tell me that he was gonna be suspended. The lawyers talked legal stuff for a little bit while I listened, and principal listened too. Eventually my turn to talk came and I simply explained points 1 and 2 above, and I also asked why the principal didn't take time to assess the whole situation. The explanation I got was that she was told by the monitor that it was almond butter, not peanut butter by the monitor, so she really didn't look any further into it. Which I can understand her point, but it doesn't make things any better from my perspective. So cut and dry stuff first, the bullied child has been moved to a different school. Unfortunately, I don't have any legal recourse to find out which school he has been moved to, and frankly I don't care. The cafeteria monitor has been fired as well. I did not hear this at the meeting, but my son's teacher called last night after school and told me this. I asked why, and I was told that she was distracted by her phone when all of the commotion started, which explains why this was allowed to progress in the first place. Based on the recommendation of a friend, thanks AX and many of you via PM, I requested and was accommodated with an allergy-free table at our school. And I'm being told every other school in the district will be implementing one as well, where children with known allergies will eat lunch at, and anyone who eats with them will have their lunches inspected by a teacher and a monitor to ensure no allergens are present. Now for the weird stuff, the kid probably did wipe almond butter on my son. The kid's parent found out through a mutual friend where we lived and showed up at my house last night. The bully kid was very apologetic to me and asked if he could apologize to my son, which I said yes of course to. I invited parents and my son into the living room, and this child started crying and said that he didn't mean to hurt my son. My son started crying as well and said that he didn't want to hit him, and he apologized as well. Then the parents asked the bullied child to explain what happened, so apparently this kid likes peanut butter and almond butter and has almond butter on a sandwich and little pack of peanut butter in his lunch for crackers. Bullied child thought it would be funny to continue to torment from yesterday, said something about peanut butter on my son and put a little bit on his fingers to make him think it was peanut butter. Then he wiped them off afterwards and got some of the almond butter from his sandwich, and that is what was on his hands when he grabbed my son's arm. I can only guess that there was a little peanut butter residue left on the bully's hands when he grabbed my son, which explains the subdued swelling reaction. I asked the kid if he knew what a peanut butter allergy actually does to a person, which to the other parents' credit, they had actually made him read WebMD about it, and he explained the whole inability to breathe and some other things his mind grasped onto. So I took the opportunity to show this young man the EpiPen needle, we have one that we've had to use previously just for show and tell purposes, that you have to stick a person with in an anaphylactic shock scenario. Then I gave him the trainer unit and showed him where it goes and how to press the button. And yes, I told him it was the trainer unit, but I really thought hard about not telling him, but I ultimately decided against that because that would not make me any better than the bully kid in front of me. When the button actuated, I think he jumped about 15 in the air and he was obviously scared. Parents apologized again, as did the bully kid. I told all of them that I was satisfied that a lesson was learned here and I would not be pursuing any additional charges against the kid or his parents. And yeah, I know you can roast me for it with downvotes. As the parents and bully kid are leaving, my son runs right past us all and gives the bully a hug and tells him that he hopes he is not in too much trouble. I was asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which I of course declined. I want my options open to me in case something like this happens again until I'm letting this die. And the next one starts like this. I recently read a story in here that reminded me of a malicious compliance I did years ago. This is a weird but innocuous one, so I hope you enjoy. Many years ago I worked at a small cafe. The customers were generally lovely and it was not a very popular place due to it being in a weird location, so it was always slow and quiet. We often got regular customers in, and when I started I was warned about the soy lady. She was an older woman who came in to order an extra large takeaway cup of extremely hot soy milk. The staff would heat 2 cups of soy milk to the edge of burning, put it on the counter and call her name. She'd sit down at a table and wait for about 5 minutes after her name was called, then collect it. She then always came back to the counter after drinking half to complain the soy milk was not hot enough and demand for it to be redone. Of course for free. She also argued the cost $3 relentlessly when she ordered at the counter. Our manager was a spineless weasel and hated customers getting Karen-y at the counter in case it caused other customers to think this is a bad place, so he always caved to her bizarre demands and would berate the staff in front of her so he would look good for being a tough manager. So shortly after I started, I met the soy lady. It vaguely bothered me that she was getting away with nasty comments to staff and an absolutely ludicrous addiction to lava-hot soy milk. Because what the hell, but not enough to actually do anything about it. Until one day my manager decided that it was our fault we could not make the soy milk to her specifications, which apparently costed the business a lot of money, and he would take the full cost of her drink from our paycheck each time she returned it. Illegal? Yes, for sure. Immoral? Absolutely. Completely insane? You know it. So the next day my manager decided to take the morning off, presumably due to the mutinous mood of the cafe staff. The soy lady rocks up, argues the cost of $3 as usual, pays and then says, "Don't forget to make it hot this time," with a nasty smirk on her face. Filled with sudden inspiration I ask, "As hot as I can make it?" She replied, "Yes, even though I doubt you could do it right." Neat. I insisted she wait at the counter because it was gonna be ready immediately. I filled up a metal jug with soy milk, shoved it under the espresso steamer wand and let it scream. You're supposed to adjust the jug so the milk spins, but I just let it boil, screaming loudly as I stared blankly right at her horrified face. For what felt like 2 minutes, though probably shorter. She started to look nervous halfway through and every customer was staring. 45 seconds in, she started to tell me that it was done, but I shouted, "I think it can still get hotter," over the wail of the burning soy milk. Finally, I took it off the wand, which was now crusted brown with burnt milk, tripled up on the takeaway cups because it was unbearably hot, and then told we now charge $5 for cups of soy milk starting immediately, and we charged the full price for refills, management orders. Not true, but I was done by that time. Interestingly, I never saw the soy lady again. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, this dude deserves an award for dealing with this entitled Karen customer. That is just textbook malicious compliance. Absolutely perfect. And yeah guys, if you cannot get enough of my content, please don't forget to check out my podcast by searching for Ripe Stories on all major podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple or Google Podcasts. Furthermore, you can find bonus content by going to patreon.com/ripeyoutube or by clicking the join button here on YouTube. For a small monthly fee, you will get access to dozens and dozens of exclusive videos you won't find anywhere else. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.